Hello, my name is Alexander Menkov. Today, 2nd of March 2023, and I'm continuing my series Daily Reality with Alex. And what I would like to share with all of you today is something called reality navigation and reality orientation. It is something very interesting to understand in reality because we are actually to daily know what to do, to daily be able to find out the directions and to constantly monitor reality. Once we understand that in reality there are three types of major beings, and we the human beings are only one type of the so-called governing reality beings. So we have the so-called watchers, which a lot of people are labeling as angels. Then we have the judges. These are the beings that are responsible for governing the construct. And we, the human beings, are the witnessers of reality. So basically, we are the ones that are experiencing daily reality. We are also generating the physical matter reality on a daily basis. We are the wave collapsers of reality. Then we have the watchers that are constantly watching and observing us, and they are managing the alignment between us and the construct. And then we have the judges that are constantly involved into accounting everything that our doingness is doing in reality, and if long-term, everything that we are generating and producing in reality is going to be beneficial for everything in reality. Of course, based on the collaboration between the different types of being in reality, all of us have our own role. Of course, when we, the human beings, were created, one of the biggest role we are playing in reality is to subdue the earth, or to be able to constantly work with the physical matter reality in a sense that we are solidifying it, and in the sense that we are able to constantly influence, materialize, and we are able to decide what is to be in the physical matter reality, but with some restrictions that are given from the other conscious beings. So when we move into our daily reality, and once we understand that we are limitless beings and all the beings that are created are anyhow limitless, then paradoxically, we have only one very distinct power, and this power is the so-called collapsing power to create and to generate the experience of the limitations. So everything that we, the human beings, are complaining about, everything that we are ignoring, everything that we constantly complain about, that we actually are non-stop in limitation, this is very important for us because our choice, which is 100% an illusion and also 100% big, powerful possibility to collapse a specific limitation, is very important. And that's why everything that we are choosing is important. Everything that we are constantly doing is important for all the beings and for everything that is happening simultaneously in reality. And then we can say, Alex, yes, but we are time and space type of beings, so we 100% are not able to exist without the perception of time. And that's why we have these cycles called day and night cycles. And during the nights, we are in our subconscious mode. And during the days, we are entering the conscious mode where we are able to enter this power of collapse and to experience specific limitations. And then when we are to move into reality, there are a lot of, or maybe we are on purpose put in to the experience of reality where there is no specific knowledge, there is no specific directive, and for each of us, there is no so-called set plan what to do on a daily basis, and it is up to us to decide the directions. So how are we to orient and how are we to navigate what to choose? This is a very big problem, and a lot of us are in constant procrastination because more and more we realize that we are powerful beings that can create and generate limitational realities. We don't know what exactly to choose, and we always, because of our inherent nature and essence of limitlessness, we even don't want to move into the specific limitations in the experience of reality because we are actually even labeling them and suffering, and we are constantly wanting to be withdrawn out of it into the limitlessness. And that's why there are these tendencies where we, the human beings, are 100% trying through meditation and through a lot of other methods to be disconnected from reality and to go 100% into our limitlessness and just to stay there and just to enjoy the beingness and just to enjoy our limitlessness, but then we become useless into the physical material reality. And by purpose, we are 100% encouraged, urged to move into the specifics of reality and to start create. This is one of the other labelings that is called fruitfulness. We are to, on a daily basis, produce the limitations that we are choosing, and this type of limitations are creating specific solid physical materiality that all of us, the human beings, are able through our daily experience to 100% benefit from each other's experiences and from what each of us are constantly in our holographic experience creating for each other's. For example, everything that I am collapsing, creating, when through my specific definitive aims, I'm materializing and manifesting into the physical materiality, these are things that a lot of other beings are choosing then to start experiencing and are able to experience things that I was before this able to manifest into reality, and then they are enjoying. So I'm enjoying the other beings' limitations that for me can look like that they're so wonderful and beautiful things that the other has, and my things that I'm creating in reality as specific things are creating an ecosystem from which other beings are also enjoying. So all of us have our specific roles, and it is very important to learn how to orient in reality, and then choices becomes easy. And I'm going just to share my screen in order to give you some more additional understanding about how I'm doing this for myself. Okay, this is the right table. So I have created a ruling reality tracker, and I'm explaining more about it during my program, Ruling Reality Basic. And if you see in the bottom, we have the transition zones, which are very important. These are the moment between our awakening in the mornings and in the evenings before we go to sleep. It is very important to constantly observe. That's why we are not able to exist and to experience without entering the observation mode. The tracking mode is helping us to navigate during our daily conscious reality in order to know in our conscious state what type of choices to make, which are going to influence our subconscious, that is going then long term to help us to shift us into different parts and realms of reality. Then we are monitoring our outer world. We are very good in all of this, all of us. And then we have our expected probabilities. For example, we know when we wake up and when we think about the tomorrow, and of course, tomorrow is never guaranteed, but for all of us, we always know that tomorrow will always come till, of course, the last experience that we are going to have on this earthly experience. But for the sake of the understanding of the expectational process, we are all the time expecting new probabilities to be able to be revealed and to be manifested in our daily physical matter reality. And even if we acknowledge it or not, there are many new things that are daily coming into our reality, even if we are complaining that everything is routine and nothing new happens, and so on and so on. Once we start spotting these small probabilities that are appearing anew and was never there, it is going to become a much more interesting understanding of all these realities. Because when we are in the conscious mode, actually we are in the limitation space of everything that we have chosen, everything that we are choosing, and all the probabilities that are most probably going to happen in our personal reality. And this is creating for us a comfortable zone in which we are daily able to open ourselves towards the experiences. Then there are some things like the long-term generating flows. I will make it a little bit bigger, and I'm giving you here some of my own personal examples, where when I move through the daily reality, in order to be able to orient, in order to be able to navigate in reality, I have created long-term generated flows, which are helping me to have anchors. For example, for 2030, one of the flows that I have created is 100 houses vision. So I know approximately in quadrant number 4 of reality, where is the external collective, where is all that we as human beings were able to manifest till this moment in the physical materiality, and all these things we are calling through the history the so-called civilization. Is there purpose in this, or is there no purpose in civilizations? It's another type of debating, but anyhow, we have this ability, and I'm also involving my energy into, for example, some of the flows. So I have another flow that I have created, also a long-term flow, about accumulating generational wealth and have a billionaire type of vision. Then I have the third flow, which is to double the sizes of my companies, and I'm constantly working about growing the companies in which I'm involved, and also I'm starting new projects on the same time. Then I'm 100% willing to involve into understanding more about my family time, why I am anyhow connected with my family, and I'm putting a lot of energy in this. And then this other flow that I'm connected to and I'm created in my personal reality is my body shape, my body structure, and everything regarding my body, because this is maybe one of the most difficult thing for all of us to rule in our reality. And this is the part of us which is most close to our inner being. Then are the so-called unexpected unexpected things that are happening that are connected to our flows. We are constantly experiencing synchronicity in our daily reality, which are connected with our long-term generated flows, and we are to spot them in our daily reality. And then we have the unusual experiences, which we can also track on a daily base. And I have just put some type of specific of examples for me, but anyhow, even if we are 100% people that are constantly tracking or and journaling, or even if we are people that are from time to time tracking, the more we observe, the more we track, the more we journal, the more vivid and structured reality becomes. There are different type of people. Of course, some of us want to be more in the flows, and we don't want to go so much into measuring. There are other type of us that are 100% willing to be mathematical, everything to be strict and concrete. And for those type of people, very detailed journaling is also helping. For me personally, what is helping is to know the why, to know why I'm doing it, to know the behind, to know the depthness. And anyhow, in the non-material world, nothing can be measured, nothing can be observed in the sense described. But in the physical matter reality, everything is constantly tracked, everything is constantly measured. It's, if you think about the money and how the economy is working, for example, we are constantly tracking all the processes. We are constantly tracking all the trends. We are constantly analyzing everything we know, all the depth of the world in any given second. And there are a lot of depth meters, and everything is constantly tracked. We are tracking ourselves, we are tracking our body functions. Everything relating to finances is tracked. Everything regarding what is happening with the time is also constantly tracked. There is a lot of time management involved, and there are a lot of tracking procedures. Of course, this long term can create a lot of worries in us, but if we understand that we are to constantly monitor and analyze the outer world, because we are anyhow having this role as witnesser in this reality, and through tracking and through observing and through our orientation in the physical matter reality, in our daily experience, we see the past, we see the present also, but also we are able to see what part of the future is already starting to appear in our daily reality. Then when we go into our inner world, which is not so much able to be quantified, it is still possible for all of us to start tracking a lot of things. And I have given here some examples, and this is when we understand how the 4 quadrants of reality working, then we are very well able to understand why we are to work in our inner part of reality, where is the individual internal, and how to work with everything that is there, how to work with everything in the mindfulness, how to observe it, how to structure it, how to compartmentalize everything that is in there. Then when we go also, I haven't put it here, but when we go also in the quadrant number 3 in reality, and maybe I can share it for a little bit so that you can also have the orientation when I'm making the trackings. Just a second. You can also see there just to see how to go on the first page. Okay. And you're going to see there, anyhow, this is one of my slides that I'm speaking about reality, but here you are going to see, yes, these are the 4 quadrants of reality. And you are seeing that we are to learn to observe everything that is happening in our individual internal, and a lot of us are very strongly involved only in this quadrant of reality, and it is very easy to dwell there because we are feeling the limitlessness. But if we stay only in our inner being, we are not doing everything that we are out there to do. We are not going into the usefulness mode, and then it is not a necessity for us to go into doingness, to go and to be active. For example, the quadrant number 4, the external collective, where is everything that we the humans are producing, but also it is very interesting and good to observe the internal collective, to observe our religion types of use, how we are changing or how we are developing all our concepts regarding the higher beings, because this is what religion is all about, our relationship to everything that is more conscious than us. I know that we want to label, now it's very modern in the soft religion type of realities and this type of so-called beliefs, to label everything that is above us with very simple wordings, but we are trying and we are very strongly involved into understanding through simplification processes. But to some extent, this is good because it helps us to extract a specific part of the knowledge in reality and to be able to comprehend it. But the much more important long-term part about understanding and being able to work in this internal collective is to understand the generality, to understand the large picture, to understand how all these dots that all of us are exchanging between us in the internal collective, how they are connected in reality. And that's why it's very interesting to know and to learn how to observe, how to orient into the knowledge, how to navigate into the concepts, into the theories, into language, into culture, into values, all of these things. It's very interesting. And here it's very important not to be stuck into dogmatics. And we are constantly anyhow going into dogmatics. We are anyhow constantly going into specifics, and everything that now I'm explaining, because I'm collapsing constantly what is incomprehensible into specific language and spellings, then I'm creating a very small picture of what is available, for example, in the internal collective. And this is only for example purposes of how we are to navigate and to observe everything that is happening in this area. So I will now go back to the other pictures. And I think that you were able to understand how actually this ruling reality tracker is to be working in the 4 quadrants of reality, and paradoxically, it should be done simultaneously. So it's not possible for us to navigate in reality if we are very strong only in the physical meta reality orientation, and we say, okay, Alex, I know exactly what I'm going to do tomorrow morning. I have my plans. I always schedule everything. I have to-do list. So I'm very comfortable about orientations. I don't want anything unexpected. I don't want to hear. So in order to stay only in my comfort zones and my bubbles, actually, even I'm going to exclude all the probabilities that are possible. And because we all hate so much fear, we don't want to go into this direction. We are very afraid of our fears, which is also a paradox, because these are labelings of all the probabilities that are uncomfortable for us, all the probabilities that makes us scared or makes us to go into survival modes. But long term, more and more we are learning ourselves how to allow more probabilities to be able to exist, and how are we to learn to allow everything to be as it is, independent of ourselves, we paradoxically are receiving more freedom to collapse everything that we also wish and desire. So more and more we are letting go and are detaching from the outer reality. More of our inner reality is allowed for us to express into the external reality. So we are to constantly actually monitor and observe and to navigate all the processes that are happening between the four parts of reality. And this is very interesting for me because I know a lot of us are into the goal settings. And with goal settings, we are creating some anchors of probability for the future, but this is not enough. We are to constantly, because the more important and the most important thing is our inner being, in a sense, because from there, all the expressions of what we are able to generate is coming. So it doesn't matter if we're very strongly involved in the quadrant number 4 of reality and we are such a goal setters and we have so many achievements, because long term in limitless reality, wherever we are going, whatever directions we are taking, whatever choices we are doing, we are very strongly willing to convince ourselves that our choices matter. And the more we convince ourselves how important are our choices and how important are we and how we are the most significant thing in reality, the more actually we come into situations where we are not able to perform and to express ourselves in reality. Once we understand that it's not up to us and everything in reality is happening because there is a construct and the only thing we are doing in reality is just to be positioned and everything else is done through the flows, then it's much more easy to understand how to navigate in reality. And I'm just going to share once again in order for all of you to see what else is possible into this tracker. Of course, it's very difficult, but it's up to us to start measuring our emotional energy, to measure our alignments. For example, for me personally, it's very important to know when my mind and heart and guts and care is aligned. This is a very strong alignment when you feel that you and the physical matter reality are not like one, but you are working in a coherence and everything is happening with you, through you, by you, and for you simultaneously. But it is only possible when you are in 100% coherence between the mind, heart, and the gut. And also long-term, the care principle is very important because then you start spotting the gaps into the reality that are out there, which only each of us individually, because of its uniqueness, are possible to feel. Then we have all the inputs and the outputs that are constantly everything that we are feeding ourselves with from the specifics and the limitations of the physical matter reality databases, and we are feeding anyhow and in the four quadrants of reality, because we cannot ignore it that we are informational beings and we are feeding with information constantly, and you can constantly track yourself because then it starts producing. Your output is 100% dependent on your input, and it is also the same for me. But then once we understand that there is also an inner self, inner source, and when we understand that we are not long-term to be attached to knowledge and to knowing, and once we understand that not the knowledge is power, but actually the connecting of the dots. For example, if we have the different type of knowledges here, what is more important is not the knowledge itself. For example, this is a very interesting book. This is a very interesting concept. This is something which is new innovative trend, but what is more important is the gaps between the knowledges. Once we understand that everything is in the gaps, all we are doing constantly is connecting the dots, because we are experiencing reality and we are experiencing not what we already know, and we are not, in a sense, feeling and experiencing the existence through the knowing, through the yellow parts of the feeding of our mindfulness, but through becoming able to challenge ourselves to be comfortable with all the other dots which are in the unknown, and to be able to perform. That's why I am constantly working about the learning processes. And more I focus on the learning, more I'm able to see all the unknown that is non-definable. And of course, then a lot of people are enjoying these specific limitations and specific dots about knowledge or whatever. I'm enjoying it. I never judge. I say, okay, that's very interesting. It's a wonderful concept, and so on and so on. But then I'm more interested in everything that is much more possible because of the knowledge we have, instead of just staying in our bubbles of dogmatics and just say, no, Alex, only this in this small yellow dot is everything that is important, and we never go beyond all of this. Then we have the time management principles, but there are so many more things that are possible there to be opened, to be created. And once we start tracking how much time we are actually losing into more deepness type of management of our time, then we are going to understand how much more possibilities are there for us during the time period, because more we are able to focus on specifics, more we are able to enter during the physical matter reality time into the deepness and the limitlessness of the experiences, even if it's in 20 minutes. In 20 minutes, we can have experience as much as some other people are having for days. And that's why it's very interesting when we are into dream modes. Maybe the mind is dreaming only for 5 seconds or 10 minutes. I don't know exactly, because I haven't measured it. There is a lot of science that is going on that is still trying to discover it. But in, let's say, 1 minute dream, you can have an experience like maybe 5 days of dreaming. So it's a very interesting also thing to experience. Then it's everything about the willpower, the desires, the intuition. We are constantly to monitoring our intent, how we are using it, how and where we put our focus and attention. And here I'm strongly working about paradoxically allow during the day I'm monitoring and observing my subconsciousness. I'm observing everything that is happening with me and what type of intuition is coming to me, because this is helping me then to know what type of choices to make in order to create new reality shifts and to navigate and to orient into the future of the probability of realities that I'm willing to experience. And then it is much more about this type of relaxation, enjoyment, and all the beautiful things that we are also able to experience in reality, and we usually don't observe them, we ignore them, we are so strongly involved only into efforts that we don't allow ourselves to go into the rejuvenational modes and into the highly positive experiential, so to say, experiences where we are able to feel deeply all these type of different positive boosts and modes of experience. And then it's a lot about flow, changes, rhythm that we are also able to track. So you can see that we can track at least 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, at least 10 type of things in reality. And this is just a small beginning for everything that is possible in order for all of us to orient. So once you start hearing that to be able to have orientation and navigation of reality, it is very simple and you need just to follow one step or two steps, or you need a guru, or you need something that is outside of you to help you. It is not possible. And that's why we haven't had and we are not able to have such a provision for ourselves where all of us are to have manuals of how to behave, how to work, and how to generate our own personal reality, because everything is happening by the educing process where from our inner essence we are to allow ourselves this expression. And what is actually the meaning for all of us in the limitations of the physical matter reality is to allow ourselves to express more of our limitlessness that is able to work very well with the limitations that are presented in our daily reality, to learn how to dissolve them, to enjoy the shifts that are possible, and long term, by having this reflection from the physical matter reality. I know a lot of people are labeling this as mirror, but this is not mirror that is showing ourselves, because limitless being is not possible to be expressed in the limitations of reality. So it is not actually a mirror, but this is just a passing process through which we understand only small dots of ourselves. It is like the wind. Nobody can see it, can test it, because it's a flow. And we know that, okay, it is the air and it is moving and so on and so on. But the more important thing is that through the reflection of our doingness, of our havingness, of our beingness, and the imprints that we are living in the physical matter reality, through the collapsing and through the generating of reality, we understanding more and more about our limitless essence that is within us. So this is everything I wanted to share today about navigating in reality. And for sure, our personal life management is more important than how we manage our companies, than how we are into the work processes. And we are, all of us, so strongly involved into giving all our energy in so many of the egregores that we are creating in these non-visible organizations that have their role, but we are using all our energy, we are using all our inner being source power into these things. But when it's for our personal ruling, we are to be much more involved consciously into managing everything that is happening with us in all the areas and aspects of our influence and impact and relationships and interaction, because we are much more than a corporation. We are much more than just mechanics. And for me, this is my passion, how all of us to be positioned as rulers of our own personal realities, because only this is able to create such a wonderful interactional holographic experience for all of us. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye. Enjoy your reality. And little by little, just learn to navigate. Bye bye.